Welcome back to another episode of the English Hour. I'm your host, Sophia. And today I'm joined once again by the thoughtful and ever curious Jacob. Jacob, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, Sophia. Excited to be back and ready to dive into another long, deep, and wandering conversation with you. There's something special about the pace we set here, no rush, just genuine exploration.
I love that you said, no rush. That's exactly what this space is about. A safe, calm space to explore ideas. So Jacob, let's start with something simple. What's been on your mind lately?
Honestly, I've been thinking a lot about how we process change, whether it's personal growth, relationships shifting, or the world evolving around us. Change is everywhere, and sometimes it feels fast, chaotic, but also necessary.
That's powerful. Change is such a big theme in life. And yet, most of us resist it. Why do you think we find change so uncomfortable?
I think it's partly about identity. We build routines, habits, even relationships around who we think we are. When something shifts, we feel unsteady, as if our entire sense of self is up for renegotiation.
That makes so much sense. It's like pulling out a puzzle piece from a finished puzzle. Even if it's for a better one, it leaves a gap, a discomfort.
Exactly. But it's also where growth happens. Imagine if we never changed. We'd still be stuck in the same thoughts, same patterns, same limitations.
That's so true. And yet, the fear is real. I sometimes wonder if we confuse comfort with happiness. Like, we stay in our comfort zones because they're familiar, not necessarily because they bring us joy.
Yes, that hits home. Comfort zones are like emotional cocoons. They protect, but they can also restrict. Real fulfillment often requires stepping into discomfort.
That reminds me of the phrase, choose your hard. Staying the same is hard. Changing is hard. But one leads to transformation and the other to stagnation.
That's a great way to put it. And honestly, transformation doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's just shifting a single thought pattern, reframing a belief, or simply becoming more aware.
I love that. Small shifts can lead to massive outcomes. Like the ripple effect. One changed thought today could lead to a different decision tomorrow. A different life in a year.
Speaking of ripple effects, have you ever noticed how kindness works like that too? One kind gesture, one moment of presence, it spreads in ways we'll never fully see.
Oh, absolutely. Kindness is contagious. And what's beautiful is that it doesn't cost a thing. A smile, a listening ear. A genuine compliment, they can change someone's whole day.
And sometimes we underestimate the power of simply being there for someone. Not to fix, not to judge, but to just be present.
That's true presence. That's real connection. You know, Jacob, this actually ties into something else. I've been thinking about the difference between reacting and responding.
Ah yes, the gap between stimulus and response. That posits everything.
Exactly. When we react, it's immediate, emotional, often unconscious. But when we respond, we choose, we bring intention.
That intentional space is where growth lives. It's where empathy, understanding, and self-control are born.
It's interesting, Jacob. How many of us go through life on autopilot reacting, not responding? And when you start creating that little pause, even if it's just a breath, everything starts to shift.
Totally. That pause is like reclaiming your power. Instead of letting circumstances dictate your mood or actions, you choose who you want to be in that moment.
And that choice, it builds character over time. It's like building a muscle. The more you respond with intention, the more natural it becomes.
It reminds me of a time when I was caught in traffic and someone cut me off. Normally, I'd be fuming. But that day I just paused. I thought, maybe they're rushing to an emergency. That small reframe changed my whole energy.
I love that. Compassion over assumption. When we give others grace, we often give ourselves peace too.
Exactly. And isn't it wild how most conflicts could be de-escalated if we simply paused and asked, what else could be true?
That question is powerful. It opens up curiosity instead of judgment. And curiosity is so underrated in relationships, romantic, professional, or even with strangers.
Completely agree. I think we live in a culture that's trained us to be right rather than curious. But being right doesn't always lead to connection. curiosity.
And curiosity doesn't mean agreeing, it means being open. Listening without immediately forming a response. That's a deep kind of respect.
I wish that was taught in schools. Not just information, but how to think, how to listen, how to understand others.
Same here. Emotional intelligence, empathy, communication, these are life skills we all need, but many only learn through hardship.
Speaking of learning through hardship, I wanted to ask, do you believe pain is necessary for growth?
That's a big one. I think pain, while not the only teacher, is often the most effective one. It breaks us open in ways comfort rarely can.
Well said. Pain shows us where we're attached, where we're resisting, where we haven't healed. And if we face it with honesty, it can become our greatest mentor.
Yes, but I also think joy is a teacher. Celebration, love, connection, they can stretch us too, just in gentler ways.
That's true. We don't talk enough about the growth that comes from joy, from feeling fully alive, from being seen and loved as we are.
Absolutely. There's a certain vulnerability in allowing ourselves to feel joy. To not wait for the other shoe to drop. To just be in it, fully.
You're right. Sometimes joy scares people more than sadness, because sadness is familiar. But joy feels risky. It feels like, what if I lose this?
And yet, when we numb ourselves to avoid pain, we also numb joy. You can't selectively shut down emotions.
That's a powerful truth. Emotional courage means letting it all in, the laughter and the tears, the light and the dark.
Speaking of light and dark, what's something you've embraced recently that used to scare you?
Who might say stillness? For a long time, I was afraid of being still, of doing nothing. I thought productivity was my value. But now, I've started embracing stillness as sacred.
That resonates so much. In a world that's always rushing, choosing to pause is almost revolutionary.
It really is. And in those quiet moments, I've found so many answers I'd been seeking in the noise.
That's beautiful, Jacob. And a reminder that sometimes, the most meaningful growth happens in the quietest moments.
Couldn't agree more. It's in the silence we meet ourselves fully.
And once we do that, meet ourselves without judgment, our whole life shifts. We stop performing and start living.
Yes, that's the mindset shift right there. From proving to being. From chasing to aligning.
You said that perfectly. Jacob, I feel like we've just scratched the surface today. There's so much richness in what we've covered already.
And the beauty of this podcast is we can keep exploring. No rush, no pressure. Just curiosity and connection.
That's exactly the kind of space. I want the English Hour to be a place where people can slow down, reflect, and feel like they're part of a meaningful conversation.
And it truly feels like that. I've had so many moments today where I thought, yes, I needed to say this out loud. That in itself is therapeutic.
And I'm sure many listeners feel the same. Sometimes, hearing someone else put your feelings into words is all the validation you need.
It reminds us we're not alone. Our thoughts, our doubts, our dreams, they're more universal than we think.
That brings up something I've been meaning to ask. Do you think society encourages people to hide their inner world too much?
Definitely. There's this pressure to appear like we've got it all together on social media, at work, even with close friends. Vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness.
And yet, it's the bridge to everything. We're really craving: authenticity, intimacy, connection.
That's why I admire people who can show up raw and real. It takes courage to say, I don't have it all figured out.
Sometimes I think the strongest people are the ones who are willing to cry in front of others. That honesty is so disarming.
Yeah, because when someone's being real, it gives us permission to do the same. It's contagious in the best way.
I once read that vulnerability isn't about oversharing, but about sharing with intention, offering something true, even if it's scary.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about dumping emotion. It's about offering a window into your experience with the hope it might help or connect.
And that brings us back to mindset again. It takes a certain mindset to let go of fear-based thinking and replace it with trust.
Trust in yourself. Trust that you'll be okay even if someone doesn't get you. Trust that being rejected for your truth is better than being accepted for a version of you that isn't real.
That's such a big one. Many people walk around afraid of rejection, and yet, they're already rejecting parts of themselves every day, just to fit in.
Yeah, it's like self-abandonment in slow motion. And over time, it creates resentment, burnout, even depression.
I've been there. And the journey back to self is messy, but so worth it. It starts with asking, what do I truly want? What feels authentic for me?
It also takes patience. Because when you've been disconnected from your real self for a long time, rediscovering who you are can feel overwhelming.
Definitely. But you don't have to figure it all out in one day. It's about showing up for yourself a little more each moment. Listening inwardly.
You know what helped me? Journaling. Just 5 minutes a day. No pressure. Just a space to hear my own thoughts without interruption.
I love that. I do something similar. I call it brain dumping. Just letting everything out on paper without editing or analyzing.
It's so healing. And sometimes I read something back and realize, wow, I didn't know I felt that way.
That's the magic of self-reflection. It helps you make the unconscious conscious. And once it's conscious, you can work with it.
Right? You can't change what you're not aware of. That's why mindset work is so important. It shines a light on what's hidden.
Yes, and awareness always comes before action. It's not enough to say, I want to change. You have to understand why you do what you do.
It's like digging through layers. You pull back the habit, and under that is a belief. And under that belief, maybe a childhood wound.
And healing that wound changes everything. Because when you change your belief, your actions naturally follow.
It's empowering to know that we can rewire our mindset, that we're not stuck with the default programming we inherited.
Exactly. And it's never too late. Whether you're 15 or 50, the brain is always capable of change.
Neuroplasticity is such a hopeful concept. It proves that growth isn't just possible, it's biological.
Yes, and every time we choose differently, even in small ways, we're carving new pathways in the brain. That's how change becomes sustainable.
I think one of the biggest mindset shifts people can make is to stop fearing failure and start seeing it as data.
Oh, absolutely. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. It's feedback.
Every mistake is telling you something valuable, what works, what doesn't, what you need to tweak. But if you label it as bad, you miss the lesson.
And sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come right after a so-called failure. That's when people dig deeper, ask better questions, and make bold moves.
I've failed more times than I can count. But each one taught me how to be more resilient, more creative, and more humble.
And you've turned those failures into wisdom, which is something no textbook can teach.
That's what makes these conversations so powerful, Sophia. They're not about pretending to be perfect. They're about exploring, reflecting, and hopefully helping someone else feel less alone.
That's the heart of the English Hour. Real talk, deep reflection, and a whole lot of curiosity.
Exactly. And I'm so grateful to be here with you, sharing this space and these insights.
Same here, Jacob. This is just the beginning. There's so much more we can explore together.
Absolutely, let's keep going. I feel like we've just scratched the surface. Every time we open a new thread, it branches into 10 more ideas.
That's the beauty of real conversation, it evolves naturally. Since we've been talking about failure and mindset, I'd love to explore how comparison plays into all of this.
Oh, yes. Comparison is a tricky one. It sneaks in quietly, and suddenly you're questioning your path, your pace, even your worth.
Social media makes it worse, doesn't it? We're constantly shown curated success, filtered happiness, and picture-perfect lives.
Exactly. And most of the time, we're comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel.
That phrase always hits me, highlight reel. Because that's what it is. We rarely see the struggles, the doubts, the messy middle.
And yet we measure ourselves against it like it's the whole truth. Like if we're not doing as well or looking as polished, we're failing somehow.
Which is ironic. Because if we actually talk to those people, we'd probably find they're facing the same doubts we are.
Totally. I've had that experience so many times, meeting someone I admired from afar and realizing they're just as insecure, just as human.
And there's so much relief in that. Because it brings things back into balance. You realize success isn't linear, and confidence isn't constant.
It's true. And that's why I think one of the best mindset shifts is moving from competition to collaboration.
Yes. From, how can I beat them? To, what can I learn from them? Or even, how can we support each other?
That shift changes everything. Suddenly, other people's success doesn't feel like a threat, it feels like inspiration.
It turns envy into motivation. Instead of feeling behind, you feel curious. You ask, how did they do that? And, what's possible for me?
And you stop rushing. Because when you're not in a race, you can enjoy your own pace. You can build something meaningful, not just impressive.
That's so powerful. I think a lot of people burn out not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing the wrong things trying to keep up, rather than checking in.
Right. And checking in is where clarity lives. You start asking, what actually matters to me? What does success mean for me?
For some, it's peace. For others, it's purpose. For some, it's having time to play with their kids every evening. There's no one answer.
But comparison tries to give us one answer. It tells us, this is what a good life looks like. And if yours doesn't match it, you feel like you've failed?
Which is why self-awareness is the antidote. When you know what you value, you're less likely to be shaken by someone else's path.
And you start honoring your own milestones. Celebrating progress that might look small to others but feels huge to you.
Like saying no to something that doesn't align. Or finally finishing that project you've been quietly working on for months.
Or even just getting out of bed on a hard day. That's a victory too. We don't talk enough about the quiet wins.
Let's do that now. What's one quiet win you've had recently?
I'd say learning how to rest without guilt. Taking a full weekend to unplug and not feel like I'm wasting time.
That's such a powerful one. Rest is productive in its own way, it restores us, so we can show up fully later.
And yours?
I think mine would be allowing myself to be a beginner again. I started learning a new skill recently, and let myself be bad at it. Just for the joy of learning.
That's beautiful. There's so much freedom in giving yourself permission to be imperfect.
Yes, because when you let go of needing to be great, you rediscover curiosity. You're not performing, you're exploring.
And that's when real learning happens. Without ego, without pressure, just presence and play.
Which leads us to another mindset idea. I love approaching life with a sense of play. Seeing challenges as puzzles instead of problems.
That changes the emotional charge completely. You're not overwhelmed, you're intrigued. What can I try next?
Exactly. And it keeps the brain flexible. You stay open to possibilities, rather than locked into fear or frustration.
That mindset is something kids naturally have. They try, they fail, they laugh, they try again. No shame, just exploration.
Somewhere along the way, adults forget that. We become afraid of looking foolish.
But what if we embraced the foolishness? What if we saw it as a sign of courage, not incompetence?
I love that. Because being willing to look silly often means you're being brave enough to grow.
And growth, as we've said, isn't always comfortable, but it's always worth it.
Yes. Every time we step out of our comfort zone, we're rewriting the story of what we're capable of.
And that, I think, is the ultimate mindset shift, believing in the possibility of transformation.
Not just for ourselves, but for others, for the world. When you believe change is possible, hope is born.
And with hope, anything is possible.
Absolutely. Let's keep the momentum going. That thought you just shared, hope being the beginning of possibility. It's such a grounding reminder.
Thanks, Sophia. I think we underestimate hope because it's quiet. It's not flashy like motivation or productivity, but it's the foundation, right?
Yes. Hope gives us permission to try. Even when we're uncertain. Even when we've failed before, it whispers, try again.
It's like a gentle voice in the background. And sometimes just having that voice is enough to keep moving forward.
That's why surrounding ourselves with hopeful people matters too. Their energy can keep that voice alive in us when ours gets quiet.
Definitely. And it's not about being blindly optimistic either. It's about grounded hope. Like, things are hard right now, but they won't be hard forever.
That's a powerful distinction. Hope that sees reality, but still chooses to believe in better.
Yes, and it's contagious. When someone believes in you genuinely, it plants a seed inside you. You start to believe in yourself too.
I've experienced that. A few kind words from someone I respected changed the way I viewed myself.
Me too. It's amazing how something that takes seconds for them to say can echo in your mind for years.
So, maybe one of the most underrated mindset shifts is realizing how much we can impact others with small moments like that.
Absolutely. We think big impact comes from big actions, but sometimes it's a text message, a smile, a comment of encouragement.
Or even just listening without interrupting. Letting someone feel heard. That's a gift in itself.
That reminds me, there's this quote I love. People don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel.
That's Maya Angelou, right? It gives me chills every time. So true.
And it circles back to mindset again, because when you approach relationships with compassion, you become someone others feel safe around.
Yes, and when you create safety, people open up. And when people open up, real connection happens.
Which brings a kind of fulfillment that no amount of success or achievement can replace.
Exactly. And yet, we're not really taught to prioritize that kind of emotional intelligence growing up.
No, we're taught to chase goals, not to check in with ourselves or others emotionally. But emotional intelligence is what sustains us.
It helps us handle challenges better too. When we're emotionally grounded, we're more resilient.
And more patient with ourselves and others. We start to respond instead of react.
That's one of the key shifts in mindset, moving from reactivity to intentionality.
Oh, I love that. Because intentional living creates space for meaning. You're not just going through the motions, you're present.
You're aligned. Even in the hard moments, you know why you're doing what you're doing.
And that why becomes your compass. It keeps you focused when distractions and doubts show up.
So many of us lose touch with that compass though. Life gets busy, loud, overwhelming.
Yeah, and we stop asking questions. We start living on autopilot.
That's where journaling, or quiet reflection comes in. I think. Just 10 minutes of solitude can reconnect you to your deeper self.
For sure. I try to take some time every morning, even if it's just to breathe deeply and ask, what matters today?
That's a beautiful practice. It gives you clarity before the noise of the world rushes in.
Exactly. And it helps me choose my actions more wisely, less reacting, more responding.
Which ultimately shapes the life you're creating. Our mindset in those small moments adds up to who we become.
Wow, that's so true. It's not the grand gestures, it's the daily mindset habits that shape our character.
And the more we build those habits, the more natural they become. Like training a muscle.
Exactly. At first it's awkward. Then one day you notice you're thinking differently, you're kinder to yourself, more patient with others.
That's growth, quiet, consistent, real.
And it's available to all of us. No matter our past, no matter how many times we've messed up.
I love that so much. Everyone listening right now, just remember, change doesn't have to be loud to be powerful.
Absolutely. In fact, most transformation starts in silence, in small choices, in private moments.
So if you're listening and feeling behind, know this: you're not. You're just on your way.
Yes, and we're right here with you, growing alongside you.
Jacob, this has been so rich. I feel like we've traveled across so many ideas, and yet stayed rooted in one central theme: mindset as the key to everything.
Couldn't have said it better. And I think we've only just begun.
Yes, please continue. Let's keep going deeper, because this is the kind of conversation that reveals more the longer we stay with it.
Totally agree. And now that we've touched on the idea that mindset shapes our entire experience, maybe we can dive into how it affects creativity too.
Oh, that's a great direction. Creativity is often seen as a talent, but it's really so much about mindset, isn't it?
Absolutely. People think creativity means painting or composing music, but at its core, it's just problem solving with imagination.
I love that definition. And if you believe you're not a creative person, that belief becomes a barrier.
Exactly. That's a fixed mindset at work, telling yourself a story that limits you. But creativity is a muscle. Use it and it grows.
Yes. Even small acts like writing a journal entry, rearranging your room, or cooking something new, those are all creative expressions.
And it's interesting how fear shows up when we try to create. Like, what if it's not good? Or, what if people laugh?
That inner critic can be so loud. But I've found that when we accept that the first version won't be perfect, it frees us.
That's the magic, right? Giving yourself permission to be messy, to explore without pressure.
And to play. Adults forget how powerful play is for creativity. Kids create constantly because they don't judge themselves.
Totally. They're curious, fearless, and open. That's a creative mindset.
So maybe part of developing a creative mindset is returning to that childlike openness.
Yes. Releasing the need to impress and focusing on expressing.
Wow, that's quotable. Don't impress, express. I love that.
Feel free to use it. But seriously, it's a mental shift that can open so many doors.
And that openness spills into every area: relationships, work, problem solving, emotional healing.
It does. Creative thinking lets you reframe challenges. Instead of, this is a problem, you start asking, what's another way to approach this?
That question alone, what's another way, is a mindset game changer.
100%, it switches you from being stuck to being in motion, from passive to proactive.
And it works in emotional moments too. Like, instead of reacting in frustration, you can ask, what's really going on here? What's another way to see this?
That's emotional creativity. It's not just about expressing through art, it's also how we creatively manage our emotions.
And the beautiful part is, the more we practice it, the more natural it becomes.
Right. Like we said before, small moments, small shifts, over time, they shape your worldview.
Which brings us back to the power of daily mindset habits. It all connects.
Yes, whether it's gratitude, reflection, or creative play, these tiny actions build mental flexibility.
And that flexibility is so needed in today's world. Everything changes fast. Adaptability is key.
It's actually one of the most sought after skills now. Not just in careers, but in life.
I've noticed that too. People who adapt well tend to thrive, even when plans change.
Because they don't resist reality, they respond to it. They work with what's here instead of wishing it were different.
And again, that's mindset. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about how quickly you get up.
Exactly. It's the internal dialogue. Do you say, I failed, I'm done? Or do you say, I learned something? Let's try again.
That internal voice, it shapes everything. Which is why we need to nurture it.
Talk to yourself like someone you love. That advice never gets old.
I use that all the time. It brings self-compassion into the conversation. And self-compassion is not weakness, it's fuel.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Fuel. When you treat yourself with kindness, you give yourself energy to keep going.
It creates emotional safety, which makes it easier to take risks and grow.
Yes, so in a way, a strong mindset is one that knows how to hold both discipline and gentleness.
That's beautiful, Jacob. The balance between structure and softness. Between drive and grace.
And we need both. Too much discipline becomes harshness. Too much softness can lead to stagnation.
But together, they create sustainable growth. A mindset that doesn't burn out.
That's the goal. Long-term evolution, not short-term intensity.
Jacob, I think this is one of my favorite conversations we've had. It just keeps opening up new levels.
Mine too, Sophia. It's like one insight leads to another and another, like dominoes of awareness.
Yes, please keep going. Let's keep those dominoes of awareness falling. This is the kind of depth our listeners love.
All right, let's follow that thread. You mentioned emotional safety earlier, and I think that deserves more attention.
Definitely. Emotional safety is something many people don't realize they're missing until they feel it with someone.
Exactly. It's that feeling when you can say, I don't have it all figured out, and the other person says, that's okay. Me neither.
That level of acceptance is rare but so powerful. It allows real connection to happen.
Yes, and emotional safety doesn't just apply to relationships, it applies to the relationship we have with ourselves too.
Wow, you're right. That inner space where we allow ourselves to feel, to fail, to be unsure, that's where growth actually happens.
And mindset plays a huge role in that. If your mind is constantly criticizing you, you never feel safe in your own head.
And if you don't feel safe in your own head, you're going to have a hard time taking any meaningful risk.
Exactly. You can't step into your full potential if your inner dialogue is always trying to pull you back into the safe zone.
Which isn't really safe, it's just familiar. There's a big difference.
That's an important distinction. The comfort zone isn't always comfortable, it's just predictable.
And sometimes predictability keeps us stuck in patterns that aren't serving us.
So one of the mindset shifts that's helped me is redefining failure. I now see it as feedback, not a verdict.
That's such a healthy reframe. And it makes you more willing to try new things.
Because the fear of getting it wrong doesn't control you anymore. You start thinking, what can I learn from this?
And you realize that growth doesn't come from perfection, it comes from persistence.
Exactly. I think we need to normalize the messy middle. The part where you're trying, adjusting, and not quite there yet.
Yes, that middle space is where life really happens. Where breakthroughs are born.
It's like the gym for the mind. You don't get stronger by thinking about lifting weights. You have to struggle with the reps.
I love that metaphor. And mindset is what keeps you showing up, even when it's hard.
Even when you don't see results right away. Especially then.
That delayed gratification muscle is so underrated. We live in a world of instant everything, and mindset helps us zoom out.
Yes, to remember the long game. That what you're doing now is planting seeds even if you don't see the flowers yet.
That's so beautiful, Jacob. Planting seeds of effort, consistency, and self-belief.
And trusting that they'll grow in time as long as we keep showing up.
That's the mindset that builds dreams quiet, steady, patient.
And full of self-compassion when things take longer than expected.
Or don't go as planned at all. Because sometimes the detour is the real path.
Exactly. That's when mindset helps you pivot instead of panic.
I love how we keep circling back to this idea that mindset isn't about being positive. All the time, it's about staying grounded and adaptive.
Yes, it's not toxic positivity, it's conscious resilience.
Conscious resilience. That needs to be a whole series on its own.
Let's do it. There's so much to unpack there, like how resilience is built through intentional discomfort.
Ooh, that's good. Choosing to challenge yourself instead of waiting for life to force you.
Because life will challenge you either way. But when you build that mental strength proactively, you're more prepared.
It's like mental immunity. The more you expose yourself to constructive stress, the stronger you become.
Yes, and that ties into emotional fitness too. Like learning how to sit with discomfort instead of numbing it.
That's something a lot of people avoid, discomfort. But it's such a teacher.
It is. Every time we avoid it, we stay the same. Every time we face it, we evolve.
And that evolution is the reward of a powerful mindset. Not just success, but growth. Real, internal growth.
That's the stuff no one can take from you. Not your bank account. Not your resume. Just you and your mindset.
It's the foundation for everything else.
It is. And I hope anyone listening today walks away knowing that no matter where they are now, they can begin shifting their mindset today.
Yes, that it's never too late. That you are not stuck. That change is available right here, right now.
And it starts with one question. What's one small thought I can shift today?
That's a perfect prompt. Let's leave it there for now. Unless you want to keep exploring another angle.
Absolutely, let's keep going. There's so much more we can explore, especially how mindset influences the way we interpret the world around us.
Yes, I've been thinking about that too. Two people can go through the exact same situation and come out with totally different perspectives just because of their mindset.
Exactly. One person sees a setback as the end. Another sees it as a stepping stone. It's all about the lens we use.
And that lens is shaped by everything: our upbringing, our environment, the stories we tell ourselves.
Right. Those internal stories are so powerful. Like, if someone always tells themselves, I'm not good at this, that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's that voice in your head that quietly shapes your whole experience without you even realizing it.
Yes. And the crazy part is, most people never question that voice.
And mindset work begins with awareness of that voice. Becoming conscious of your self-talk.
One of the first exercises I ever did was journaling my negative thoughts and then challenging them.
I've done that too. It's shocking how often we say things to ourselves we'd never say to a friend.
Exactly. We're often our own worst critics. But the moment we start treating ourselves with the same compassion we offer others, everything starts to change.
That's such a turning point. And from there, we can start installing more empowering beliefs.
Yes, like shifting from, I can't do this, to, I'm learning how to do this.
That tiny reframe changes the entire emotional tone. From defeat to possibility.
It opens the door. And once the door is open, momentum becomes possible.
I love how mindset transforms even small moments. Like waking up and saying, today might be hard, but I can handle it.
That's powerful. You're not denying the challenge, but you're claiming your capacity.
Exactly. It's like building a muscle. Every time we choose a mindset that supports us, that muscle gets stronger.
And the stronger it gets, the more naturally it becomes your default state.
Yes, eventually, you don't have to force positivity, you embody resilience.
That's the goal. To live from a place of grounded strength, not surface level hype.
That grounded strength gives you the ability to respond instead of react.
Yes, instead of spiraling when something unexpected happens, you pause and say, okay, what's the next best move?
That space between stimulus and response, that's where your power is.
Viktor Frankl talked about that. In that space lies our growth and our freedom.
I love that quote. It really captures the essence of mindset. It's not about controlling everything, but controlling your interpretation and your response.
That's what makes mindset such a superpower. You can't always change the external, but you can always change the internal.
And that changes everything. Because your inner world becomes the source of your strength.
The calm inside the storm.
That's beautiful. I think everyone listening right now probably needed to hear that.
And I hope it inspires someone to start their mindset journey, even if it's just noticing one limiting belief today.
That's a perfect place to begin. Just notice, no pressure to fix it immediately. Awareness is the seed.
Exactly. You plant that seed with curiosity, not judgment.
And with time, it blossoms into new ways of thinking, being, and experiencing life.
The mindset you choose is the life you create.
That's worth writing down, Jacob.
Let's keep going. I feel like we're just scratching the surface of how mindsets, creativity, relationships, even physical health.
Yes, let's go deeper into that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how mindset affects creativity. That's such a rich topic.
Definitely, creativity is so tied to mindset. If you believe you're not creative, that belief alone can block the flow.
Yes, I think so many people stop themselves before they even start. They think, I'm not an artist. Or, I'm not talented. And that shuts the door.
But creativity isn't just about painting or writing music. It's in problem solving, cooking, parenting, even how you approach your daily routine.
Exactly. And a growth mindset allows you to experiment, take risks, and make mistakes without fear.
When you're in a fixed mindset, you're too worried about being judged or getting it perfect. But with a growth mindset, it's about learning through the process.
That shift makes creativity fun again. Like when we were kids, we created just for the joy of it.
Yes, before we learn to be afraid of failure. It's funny how unlearning is sometimes more powerful than learning.
That's so true. We spend a lot of our adult life trying to get back to the freedom we had as children.
And mindset is the bridge. It reconnects us to play, curiosity, and wonder.
And when we carry that mindset into relationships, into work, into personal growth, it changes everything.
It becomes a lifestyle, not just a tool.
And the beautiful part is it's available to all of us. Right now. We don't need to wait for the perfect moment or some big breakthrough.
Exactly. The decision to choose a supportive mindset can be made at any time, even in this very moment.
Jacob, this conversation has been so enriching. I feel like we've traveled through so many layers of what mindset truly means.
Me too. It's been deep, thoughtful, and honestly, kind of healing.
And I hope our listeners feel the same. Whether they're walking, working, studying, or just relaxing, we're honored to be part of their day.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone who spent this time with us. We're grateful for your presence.
And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the English Hour for more soulful conversations.
We'll see you again soon with more insights, stories, and hopefully a little inspiration.
Until next time, take care of your mind, and it will take care of you.
Beautifully said, Sophia.
Thank you, Jacob. See you in the next one.
See you soon.